Hey Trajectory team, I'm excited about what we're about to be talking about. Just last week, I had a lot of people respond via text and phone that had my number about the fact that we're going to be talking about teachers this week. They were excited about it. I know Stephanie Blunt on the Facebook page said she was excited we're going to be talking to teachers, and I am super fired up about it because I love teaching myself. I do love preaching. That's what I'm called to do. But I love teaching also, and sometimes it's a hard deal. You know, I'm sitting there preparing for Sunday school to teach in it, and then prepare for sermons, in that they're a little bit different in how you present them. But I love both of them, and I believe you love teaching for some of the same reasons. So I just want to make sure that while we're talking about this, that you know that I have a passion for this very thing. My dad was a teacher. My stepmother was a teacher. My wife taught school and now is working in curriculum and training teachers. Also, she teaches college, and I have a daughter who teaches at a school too. And so, listen, it's all over the place. I love it. I'm passionate about it, and just want to let you know that we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this in 3 separate small videos, because if I did this whole thing, it'd be about 30 minutes. Nobody's going to sit there and click on that and watch it for 30 minutes, or maybe very few will. So we're going to try to do this in maybe 3 separate videos of about 7 or 8 minutes each. But anyway, we're gonna get those things done, because I want to talk to you about 3 separate things when it pertains to teaching. School has just started in our area. I'm sure it's getting close to starting in your own. And the summers were great. You enjoyed every moment of it, as well you should. You were beaching it. You were visiting family all over the place. You were relaxing at the house, or you may have been running around trying to get things done around your house that you didn't get to do during the school year. But either way, you're having to kind of eke back into that. And so the attitude going back into that school is, I'm not so sure I'm ready to get back there. I know how it is when I go on vacation. I'll be in there week in, and week out. And then all of a sudden I get a vacation. When I come back, I'm not quite ready to be back. I'm like, man, if my body could just have a little bit longer, if my brain could have just a little bit longer. And I know a lot of times the kids can be aggravating, and the parents even more aggravating, and administrators maybe so sometimes. But we're all in this game together. We're all working in this together, and need to address the things in our attitude that are keeping us from being excited about our work. Because I'm going to tell you something. You talk about influence. Teachers have incredible influence, and I know you don't think so. I mean, I know what's out there. I know there's standards to teach. I know there's testing. I know all those things that's necessary. Data is necessary. You got to have it to know where to go and what to do next. I get all of that. But what your passion and how you bring yourself into that classroom, and those kids watching you, let me just promise you something. I'm one of those kids that somebody would have given up on. I can promise you that. As a student, I don't know, back when I was a kid, there was no such thing, I guess, as ADD. We heard about hyperactive. I wasn't necessarily hyperactive, but I'm going to tell you something. If a teacher couldn't hold my attention, it was very, very tough for me in that classroom. Now, I made good grades and stuff, but a lot of times it was in spite of all the craziness I would get into in that classroom. Got my share of spankings back in the day where they would do that. But teachers, I want to give you some encouragement today. And I'm going to do that by talking about 3 different things, okay? 3 separate issues. But here is the thing, though. I want you to do: take these videos and just remember some of these things that I'm talking about today. I'm hoping what it'll do is it'll just spur something inside of you and say, man, I remember why I'm doing this. I remember who I'm doing this for, and I remember who I need to be have gratitude for. In all of this too. And I want to make sure that you know how much I appreciate you. I was brought, there were teachers. Let me tell you about a teacher. There was a teacher named Michael Simpson, and everybody has one. And I just want you to go back right now as I'm speaking and think about that teacher who is so influential on you. I'm hoping it's more than one. And in my case, it was. It was a couple of teachers as I was growing up, and then one in college, and then I learned so much outside of college. That's another video for another day. But I want to make sure that you make sure that you're thinking about that particular teacher, or those teachers that were so influential in life. But his name was Michael Simpson in my own life. And it didn't happen until high school. There were teachers who were encouraging and certain believed in me, and I thank God for those. I can name those too. But in high school, where there's some pivotal years, pivotal growth years, things going on, his name was Michael Simpson. And a lot of times, he only lived a couple of miles from church. From school rather. I get that all mixed up. But he only lived a couple of miles from school. And so what I would do is, because I was living in the housing projects at the time, I would sometimes walk to school because I was close too. So we would walk, and though it was only a couple miles, maybe only a mile and a half or so, it seemed like forever to me. But anyway, I would go out there and he'd be walking to school, and sometimes I would walk with him. And I think he had two small boys. I can't remember, but I think he had two small boys, and a wife, of course, and lived nearby the school. And we walked together. He'd tell me about the animals and stuff, and he'd point to this, and he'd show me that, and things that at that time I really didn't care much about. I look back on it now and wish I could have asked more questions to him. But even going there now is neat. I'm walking to school with this guy, and all, and he's teaching me, taking time to teach me. He was very encouraging in school, a serious man, but very encouraging in school. And another story that I'll tell you about him, some other time, some other video. But let me just say this. Here's the thing. I can't go back and thank him for what he did, because in my 10th grade year, he passed away. He was a very young man, but passed away. Very athletic. He ran and he walked a lot. He rode his bike to school, did all those kind of things, but died at a very early age. And I wish I could go back and tell him how, in my time of crisis of high school and all of our time of trying to figure ourselves out, that he was so influential. You too can be influential. I don't want you to forget that. I don't want you to forget how you can. There's some child in that room. Now listen, you're not going to be able to touch every one of them. Some are going to rebel against that. But they're always going to remember how you made them feel. And I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to find those one or two or three, and we're just going to say, this is going to be my project. And now you're certainly going to be loving on every one of them. You're going to be teaching every one of them. You're going to be excited about every one of them. But you're going to recognize those one, two, or three. They're going to need that extra pat on the back and going to need you to do that. Very first thing we're going to talk about today. And again, we're going to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos by the time, a few years have passed. So we're going to get to everything. But here's the first thing I want you to remember is memories. I want you to go back. I want you to remember those teachers, and I want you to remember their attributes. Why is it you love them so much? Because I know good and well you decided at some point, one of your decision-making, in your decision-making process, you were thinking, why in the world do I want to even be a teacher? It's because you saw some teachers you wanted to be like. I would love to do what they're doing. I'd love to do it, how they're doing it. I'd love to teach those students. And listen, I get it. I think it was E.C. McKenzie that said, some children drink from the fountain of knowledge and some just gargle. And it's just the truth. Some just gargle. But you're going to have to go in there with just that same enthusiasm your favorite teacher came in there with. He said, Ron, I'm just so beat up from what the government may put into teaching, and what I can't do and what I can do, and I can't be as creative as I want to be. No, friends, you really can. You're just going to have to be even more creative on how to be creative. And that is a mess sometimes. That's hard to do. I'm a visual learner. I love to see things that made and put together and show me how, and I can learn a whole lot better than you telling me how. And that's just the way I am. I'm a show me learner. And I just want to let you know, you were too, because you were watching them and you said, man, I can do that. I want to do that. That looks like fun. And when they teach you about teaching in college, like, oh, this is going to be great. You're going to be, going to change the world. And at some point, you may, and maybe you're still excited and exuberant, and just, you're on fire. I thank God for that. My children had teachers like that. Especially in the history area, they had teachers like that where they just wanted to go to school just to be in that class, and they wanted to make sure they were in that class. But maybe you've lost that fervor and that fire because you don't feel like you can be the teacher you want to be. But friends, I'm going to tell you something. You absolutely can. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight. You remember, they had a hard time too. They had a hard time too, but they loved their subject so much. They loved getting that knowledge into those kids. And I get it. Sometimes those kids are hard and tough, but you've got to be that encourager. They need you. They need you to be strong for them. Remember why you got into this. Remember the smells of the schools, and remember that big square piece of pizza. If you're my age, a big square piece of pizza that everybody wanted at the lunch line. Remember swapping the milks for the, just remember the fun that it was and it could be. But just look, remember the ball games, remember the fun, remember all of those things, just to get you inspired every single day. If you have to write down 1, 2, or 3 different things that you remember about school that were great. Now listen, they weren't all great. All the memories weren't great, but why you got into teaching in the first place. Stop. I know we get all wrapped up into our next advancement, or are we going to be a assistant superintendent, or are we going to be a principal, assistant principal? Do we want to counsel? Do we want to do all these things? All these next steps. That's all great. Goals are wonderful, and we'll talk about all those things. But what is your goal when it comes to children and teaching? Some people want to teach. And some of them get so burned out, they just want to get out of the classroom and get the next advancement. Or sometimes they love children so much they want the advancement to encourage even more people, to encourage people. And that's awesome too. But you cannot forget, don't remember the children, remember the legacy that you can leave. Remember the trajectory that you can send these kids into just by a single bump and a pat on the back, that you can send them off into the right direction. And that's exactly what you want to do. Look, you have the potential. You have the potential to change a life, just like Michael Simpson did in my own life, and just like so many other people who came by and said, Ryan, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Look, you have that opportunity to change a child's life just by going by and telling you love them. They may not hear it at home. They may not. Or maybe they hear it at home and they've never heard it at school. You got to give them a love for learning. And we're going to talk about that in the next couple of videos. Listen, we love you guys and we appreciate you teaching. Please keep it up. Please don't lose your fire. Please, please, please keep going. Bye-bye.